May 2nd, 1972, on an issue of La Dominica del Corriere.
Do you have the photo there?
I just butchered it. No, not right here.
Okay.
It's a weekly news magazine. But, however, there was a near kind of identical image of a wood carving made by a sculptor named Lorenzo Varela that turned up and succeeded in casting doubt upon, like, this.
Sounds legit. Yeah, I like when people talk about seeing Jesus and stuff in the past, I actually have doubts that he was, in fact, I mean, may have been someone called Jesus, but I have doubts that it was, in fact, a real person.
I think there's some validity
Jesus is a lot older.
to their story. Yeah. I just think, like, sometimes not all the examples could be.
Well, it goes deeper. So he also claims that he witnessed a performance in Rome in 169 BC of a lost Roman tragedy called Thyestes, Thyestes. I can't pronounce that. And but okay, here's the deal. So these two things happen, and this guy's dying, right? And on his deathbed, he says the device was real, the photograph was faked, and I wrote the play. Now, the guy who wrote the book doesn't believe him because this comes from an anonymous letter that gets sent out of nowhere saying he was a relative, claiming all this was faked. And supposedly he said this on his deathbed, but like the other guy wasn't there.
But no one heard him.
So Bruin thinks
he
was covering up. Well, he thinks it was a cover-up. He thinks it was 100% a flat-out cover. This guy was working in the Vatican area. He was a scientist working with lead. Like he was a real guy, like doing legit stuff.
Right.
So why would he suddenly lie in the end? They think that he lied in the end because that technology in the wrong hands could change the world. Blah blah blah.
Right. Well, there's a lot of stuff in the Vatican that could change the world.
Yeah, totally.
Right? In the basement of the Vatican.
Oh, I want to walk down that. So that's like the Indiana Jones scene of the
right?
giant. Like,
nobody ever goes down there.
Yeah, and I need to see that. So anyways, that's a story I thought was really interesting involving time travel.
Yeah. Yeah. So get into like the consciousness side of things. Have you guys ever heard the story of... Let me get this guy's name. It's Paul Amadeus Dynak. And...
Nope.
No.
A book about his story called Chronicles from the Future, the amazing story of Paul Amadeus Dynak. Pretty fascinating stuff. It was in 1921, this guy falls into a coma, and he's in a coma for a year-long coma. And during this time, his consciousness slides into the future and enters the body of another human being, a person called Andreas Northam. And this is in the year 3906 AD. And the people of the future soon realize his peculiar medical condition. Sorry, I'm reading this as a quick breakdown.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
But so he ends up telling the people of the future, "Hey, I'm not this person. I'm from the year this whatever."
Yeah.
And so when he tells them this, they reveal to him the dramatic course of humanity from the 20th century into the 40th century, and basically they take him around this new world and journey across the new Europe, which he's from Europe. I don't know what country he's from, but
he's German, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
But so he's in a coma this whole time.
So he's in a coma this whole time, but while he's in the coma, his consciousness is transported thousands, what was it, the year 3906 into the future, into someone else's body.
Oh.
And so now he's in someone else's body, and it was someone who also, I forget what the story was exactly, but you pick it up because it's really fascinating stuff. He was in the future. He wakes up in a hospital also in the future, and the doctors basically, he was able to tell them, "Hey, I'm not this person." Obviously, I already said that. Hang on. So he wakes up in the future, and the doctors apparently, take him around and explain his condition, and they actually, I think they fully believe that his consciousness was transported from the past too. They have knowledge of this kind of thing, I guess. So when he kind of reawakens back in 1922 after all this time, he starts writing this diary. And unbeknownst to anyone, he doesn't tell anyone the story, family, friends, anyone, because he thinks people call him lunatic.
Well, because he's been in a coma.
Yeah. So he starts documenting everything that he remembers of his time in the future. And he doesn't tell anyone. And so when he finishes his diary, I think on his deathbed before he dies, he gives the journals to a friend of his. I think it was one of his students, and this guy was like a law professor and all these other things, like a really high up intelligent guy, and he ends up releasing this book, but not before. So this book went around. I think he was part of some Freemasonic society, and this book of all the things that he found out in the future about what was going to happen was kind of the secret book that was passed around through Masonic lodges.
Really?
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so he wanted to release it out to the public because he was like, "This is my friend. This is I think I should tell his story."
Right.
And he was getting like blowback from all these secret societies saying, "Don't release this."
Yeah, yeah.
But he finally released it, and you can buy it now. But it's pretty.
What's it called again?
Pretty fascinating story. It is called Chronicles from the Future.
Oh, original.
An amazing story of Paul Amadeus Dynak. But yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
Cool.
What's he predict? Does he predict that Trump's going to win a second term? What's his thing?
Yeah, he didn't go into Trump. Yeah.
What's the general overview of the future?
Yeah, that's the overview of the future.
I'll let you read that yourself.
Oh, come on.
But I'm sure there's like flying cars. I haven't gotten that far into the book yet. But
It's an interesting concept, though. The fact that he was in a coma, his consciousness picked up a different frequency. And if we go back to all your Italian names, it picked up a frequency, just kind of like how they picked up a frequency, and like went into that body, though,
right?
And was at the same frequency that other being was at. And that being went somewhere else, obviously. So it inhabits. So it's very strange. It's like he picked a point, he went there, explored a lot, and then came back. Like just as we were talking about these CTC, these closed time loops.
It's like accidental possession in the future. It's really interesting.
Right. But there's a lot of stories of that, actually. Not so much like this. I've never heard exactly that story.
That's
with
cool.
the
I wanna read
consciousness
that.
jumping.
it's pretty cool. Like he talks about I think he goes into the government, how it's run. It's like this globalized government, but it's pretty free society as far as I know. And there was overpopulation was a huge problem, and there's a bunch of other stuff they kind of talk
So like a
about,
new
but-
world order, but people were still free?
Yeah,
it's
no,
always
it
like a
didn't-
tricky term.
It didn't seem like a huge, dark, dystopian future.
Oh, that's
it was,
good.
Thank God. See, I'm more likely to believe that. It's
Yeah.
always like black or white. It's like Nirvana, or it's like
Right.
the end of the world. Everything's burning to pieces.
Yeah. We're all holding hands or we're killing each other.
But I love the
Yeah.
loop idea of time travel. It makes me feel better about life. It feels like I have control over it.
Right. Or that you come back around.
Right. Exactly. It's not infinite.
Another thing to that, just to like, if we get off of physics for a bit, there's something called temporal causality loop. A temporal causality loop or pedestrian.
Oh, TCL?
TCL.
Sorry, I just made that up. Go.
Oh, okay. Wow. It sounds so legit. It's also called the pedestrian paradox, and it's a phenomenon said to occur when a chain of cause and effect events are circular. So just kind of like traveling in time. But for instance, this is like event A causes B, B causes C, and then C causes the event A. So it comes full circle. So a concept would be more like comparable to, no, we're talking about just human society existence, like positive feedback, co-production, co-evolution. This idea that like one causes the other and then feeds back into the original source.
Yeah.
So if you think about like co-evolution, right? Like evolution starts and starts to change DNA, and then it comes back and changes the original source.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I see that.
So that this idea of the loop is also a thing that happens in our third dimensional reality, our human existence, all the time.
I mean, quick reference. Everyone should check out the movie The Arrival that came out a few years ago. It really goes into time as being a
Amazing
loop and
movie.
non-linear,
Awesome movie,
and it really speaks to what you're saying there.
Right. Awesome. All right, guys. We could probably go on forever, but we don't have enough time.
Nope. We got enough wine, but not enough time.
So we're going to drink that wine and get out of here. So you guys have a good night, and we will see you next week.
Peace out.
Goodbye.